Okay, so this is the final challenge for this course, and it will indeed be challenging. In fact, it is a mega challenge, which you know means that it's harder than your average challenge. And we're going to exercise everything that we've learned up to this point and maybe then some in order to create Papa Bob's next big website. So here, let me go ahead and run the application. And you can see that it looks a little bit nicer than the last time that we visited Papa Bob's and did some work for him. And so we're going to use the Bootstrap framework, obviously, to do the layout and to do create a responsive form so that we can use any device to order pizza. We're going to select the size and the crust, and at that point it'll start calculating the total once we have those two pieces of information. Of course, we can add toppings if we want to, and every time we add a topping it will increase the cost of the pizza, all right, commensurate to what the price schedule is, and I'll show you that in just a moment. So let's go ahead and enter our address and then a fictional phone number, and then we'll say, hey, we'll pay with credit, and we'll click the order button and we'll see that there's success. Great. Now that's part number one. The second part is we want to create an order management screen for the Papa Bob's employees so that they can see all the new orders that come in and see what the user ordered or the customer ordered, and then they can see, okay, I need to create a medium thick crust with pepperoni, onions, green peppers delivered here. They're going to pay with credit. And notice that there's a little complete button here on the leftmost column, and when the Papa Bob pizza engineer clicks the complete button, it'll remove it from the list of available pizzas. So now we finished all the pizzas. We're waiting for more orders to come in at this point. Okay? All right? Okay. So let's look at some of the requirements. I put them here in a little requirements document called Papa Bob's Mega Challenge Requirements. All right. So first of all, we're going to use a maintenance-driven approach to creating this application. That means that we're going to separate all the concerns out into individual projects. There will be a presentation project, a domain project, a persistence project, and we're also going to have a data transfer object project that allow us to transfer data between all the layers. You're going to create an order form called default.aspx, and you're going to use let's see. Yeah, you're going to look at this orderform.png, which also will be available with the downloads in this video along with this file. All right, and it's going to look something like this. And you're going to create this exact form here. All right, so take a look at it. Think about all of the classes that we've learned about in both HTML and Bootstrap that would allow us to create this type of order form. Okay. Furthermore, here are the following prices should apply, but notice that they might change over time. So remember what we said about information that might change over time. There are things that we might want to use, might not want to use. All right, so think about how you can make this configurable so that Papa Bob can go in and make changes to it without having to recompile the application. But a small, medium, and large, regular, thin, and thick crust. Toppings, here are the prices for the toppings. As each change is made to the order, so after we select the size and the crust, then it will update the total cost label at the very bottom that we saw. And then when the user clicks the order button, validate the data where appropriate. So let me demonstrate that real quick, just so we can show you what that will look like. And I'll give you a little hint. So let's say we order a medium regular crust with sausage. And I don't fill in the delivery information of deliver to. I'm going to click the order button, and it's going to return. It's going to put the little error message underneath the order button, but before the total cost button. Now I'm using a CSS. I'm using a Bootstrap class to give me this background color. You don't have to do that, but see if you can look through Bootstrap's documentation to see how you might change, let's say, like a paragraph tag and give it this red color. Okay, if you look in the documentation where I showed you before, you should be able to figure out how to put that, but that's not a huge requirement. But at any rate, we'll need to enter a name, and if I enter a name, let's put in a different name, Grant, and I click order and I don't have an address, it'll say enter an address. Okay, 123 East Main. If I don't put in a zip code, then it's going to say, hey, please enter a zip code. So we'll enter some values here, blah, blah, blah. And then we'll click order, and it says please enter a phone number. Okay, and we're not validating if this is a valid phone number, we're just taking data. Okay, that's for another day. But now that I've entered all that information, it created a successful order. Notice that it directed me to the success.aspx page. Okay, so that's the type of validation that we're talking about here. So let's go ahead and take a look at, okay, so when the user clicks the order button, validate the data where appropriate, provide the end user with the appropriate message telling him what to do next. All fields are required. The user must select a form of payment. If data is missing, communicate between the layers with exceptions. All right, so hopefully all this makes sense so far. If the order passes validation, store the order in a SQL Server database. Use a unique identifier data type as the order ID key. Upon success, redirect to the Success ASPX page. Okay, now we're looking at the order management.aspx page. Display a list of orders not yet completed in a tabular format using a grid view. Display all the columns that are required to create the pizza. And I said not the payment or delivery information, but I went ahead and showed that anyway. It's just up to you. I don't really care. Add a hyperlink to each row in the first column, like you saw, with the word finished. I used the word complete. I didn't do that correctly. When the pizza maker clicks this button, the order should be hidden from the list. So think, how would I do that in the database to make that happen? All right. And then how would I filter the completed orders and only show those that are not completed just yet? Do not delete the order, because we might want that for reporting purposes or analytics or something along those lines. And as always, don't let Papa Bob down. Okay? So hopefully that is enough information. This video, this document, the PNG, all the videos and the topics that we talked about prior to this, it's enough information to make this work. And you might get stuck, and that's fine. I kind of hope you get stuck, because you will struggle, and if you don't figure it out the first time, then come back to it the next day after you watch the solution videos. This took me a couple of hours in the solution videos. I think about 2 hours or more. I haven't added it up just yet. So it's going to take you a long time to build this thing. Be patient, take your time, a couple of days if you have to build it. And if you don't figure something out, come back to it a day or two later. Change up some of the requirements on your own. See, what if I added the capability to add a promotion? Go ahead, do that. That's great. And then just come back to it and just exercise this process of accepting input from users, pushing that data all the way from the presentation down through the domain and into the persistence layer. How would you go about doing the calculations for the current pizza's cost? What layer would you do that in? Would you do that in the presentation layer? What if I needed to add a different type of presentation layer in the future? Would I really want my calculations there? So do all that thought process that we talked about up to this point. If you have a better solution than what I come up with, please share it in the comments here or in any of the videos that come next. You can take a different approach than I took, do things in a different order, but I'm just going to show you how I solved it. Just one approach of thousands of possible approaches to solving it. So don't cheat, follow the rules, use the techniques that you've already learned in this course, and I think you can do it. It's probably going to be a little hard, but you really need to have this under your belt before you move on to the next course. Okay. So good luck. We'll see you in the solution videos. Thank you.